Homeroom, where I ask the questions so you don't have to. And today I asked all the questions. Every question that I could think of. To a United States merchant marine. What is a merchant Marine? What even is that? He's actually not a merchant marine yet. He's a midshipman at the United States Merchant Marine Academy, and we sat down and we talked shop about what is a merchant marine, why he decided to be one, what type of mindset it takes to be someone like that, why he wanted to go into the military in the first place, what his life is going to look like afterwards, so on and so forth, and much more. Stay tuned for my interview with Braden Butler, my brother. Class is in session. All right, I just got to jump out straight in front of the bus, and I know this is going to sound ignorant, but I don't know, and I couldn't explain it to somebody else. So I'm just going to ask you, what is a merchant marine?
Yeah, so a lot of people, it's funny, we get asked a lot because it sounds like the Marines and we wear uniforms like the Navy, so people think that it's the Marines, but in the short of it, it's commercial shipping. It's the guys that work on commercial ships, and we like to call it glorified UPS drivers, but it's that's in the short what it is. You know, you see the container ships or tankers or the bulk carriers, LNG, anything that requires you to get your stuff moved on a ship, the guys crewing it are merchant mariners.
Oh, okay. And that's a branch of the military, correct?
No,
No.
it's well, that's in it again, a kind of a weird, we technically are a merchant marine. There is a section of the military that is the merchant marine, but the merchant marine themselves are not. Um,
Okay.
the military utilizes the merchant marine because there's it's a very specialized skill set that they were trained to do. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, no, take your time.
Sorry about that. Hopefully you can cut that.
Yeah, no, I will. I can. I'm a wizard with editing skills. Don't worry about it. So what about this path drew you?
Actually didn't initially.
Oh,
And neither did it draw a lot of kids that initially come here. Um, the Since it's a federal service academy, it draws a lot of kids that didn't necessarily get into the academies, you know, Navy, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, or it draws kids that previously knew about the industry, and Kings Point is regarded as one of the highest for the field. You know, it's debated. We think we're the highest. Mass thinks they're the highest. Everyone thinks they're the highest, but really we're the highest. But it's kind of a weird industry, and unless you know what it is going in, you kind of figure it out as you go. And so the SEA experience, the 4 months we go out our sophomore year and the 8 months we go out our junior year, really open up our eyes and teach us what this industry is really about.
okay.
And a lot of us have a pretty hardworking mentality, and we like to work with our hands, or we like some aspect of a trade job. And so when we go out to sea, it's an eye-opening experience and something that we've never done before. And a lot of us, change our mind or find that we really like to do something like that.
Mm. Mm. So you're kind of signing up for this experience before you know what it is.
Exactly. And like any good commercial or recruiting process, they pitch it as a kind of like a vacation. It's like, hey, come here and you get 4 months your sophomore year and 8 months your senior year. You won't even, or junior year, you won't even be at school. You'll be out traveling the world.
Yeah.
I mean, and in reality, it is, you get to travel the world, but when you're on a ship, 90% of the time it's work. You're working 7 days a week, can be up to 16 hours a day. making sure the ship's running. It's kind of like the ship itself is its own internal organism, and you are kind of like the cells or the organs making it run. Like the ship runs almost by itself because it's got a schedule, it's got cargo, and it needs to get there on time. And the cargo needs to get there on time, and the cargo that you're picking up needs to get picked up on time. And the crews change out, and the captains change out, but in the end, the ship's doing the same run and it's doing the same cargo. And we're just merely making sure it's getting from one place to the next. Whether you're a deck officer, navigationally and physically safely, and if you're an engineer, making sure that the ship's running and is able to get all the stuff there safely.
I mean, yeah, it's the shipping industry. It's an industry. It's like all other, it's not like all other, but in the sense that it requires a lot of different parts for it to move forward as one big thing, right?
Right. And it's interesting. It's we talk about it, and you truly get the experience of being a unnoticed middleman. No one knows you really exist. No one really cares if you exist. You don't get to see the final product. You don't get to see the finish. You don't get to see the finished product. You don't get to see the starting product. In my case, I was on a container ship, so we saw the red box come on and the red box leave, and it was a number, and it told us what was in it, but we never saw what was in it. And that's how it should be, because if you know what's in it, because you opened it up, normally there's something wrong.
That's fascinating, because especially me being your brother, having such a different draw and attraction to, I like the sound of people knowing my name. I like that idea of being a household name, of being something that people remember and recall from me doing it. And I feel like a lot of people chase that idea of fame or celebrity. Everyone wants to be known. Everyone wants to be popular. But it sounds like this crew, this group of individuals that choose this path, this life, are the opposite. They're willing to do this work and this hard work with no real return on their name.
It very, very, yes, that's very accurate. And it's a group of individuals, very interesting, diverse, kind of gritty group of individuals that are compensated fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
And view C in all different ways. I've heard kids say that their mates or ABs or engineers view C as a vacation because they get away from the world. And I've heard heard crew members say that they view C as merely just another job, and their job just is 7 months straight instead of a 9 to 5 every day.
Is it that you've noticed after being there more of a common mindset between the whole lot of you, or is it more just completely different mindsets in every aspect of why you're there, what you're doing, what you want to get out of it?
In terms of like service, in terms of job, how so?
Service.
It's definitely different in how people view it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people hate the military. Some people not hate the military. They hate, the regiment. They hate the uniforms. Yeah. They hate, having to answer to somebody else always, and the bureaucracy of it. But I think that everyone has a common thread, is they like to work hard towards something,
Mm-hmm.
work hard for something. And whether that's a company and they view it as working hard for themselves, or the military and it's working hard for your country.
Mm-hmm. Which camp do you think you fall into?
I don't really know. I mean, that's part of the experience here, is both sides draw to me. I like both sides of it. It comes kind of down to what lifestyle you want to live. The military will give you a little bit more options. It'll give you some set of skills that this school won't give you because it's mainly geared towards the maritime industry. But compensation isn't great, and you still, if you don't want to be a career military officer or pilot or something of that aspect, then you still have to think long term what you ultimately want to do. Whereas the maritime industry, you can come out, you can look to the oil and gas industry, which most of them are private sector, or you can look towards the union jobs and you join a union and you work your way up and you'll make a steady, third mates make a steady salary, second mates make a steady salary, and chief mates and captains, like you're kind of guaranteed that steady increase in pay along the way. And you can make a career out of it and know that ultimately you'll have a steady job.
You had to make a deal with the devil, right? Like when you signed up to join the academy, like isn't it they pay for your education in exchange for either maritime work or active duty? What's the deal that you made?
Yeah, so like everything in life, nothing's really free. So we just actually signed the third class, so sophomores just basically signed our papers that will go into effect fall trimester of our junior year that say if we want to continue here for free education, then after graduation you either have to do renew your Coast Guard license once, so it comes up under renewal every 5 years, so you have to renew it once, and do 8 years reserve duty, or you can do 5 years active duty.
Which one are you leaning towards?
I'm leaning towards active duty, but again, I'm not 100% certain. The really cool thing about this place is it gives you a ton of options, and the options really either way, there's not a bad option to choose. It's purely based on what you want to do.
I was going to say, it seems like you're giving up your entire college experience. And I mean, how many people go, college were the best years of my life, and it all went downhill from there. I got wasted every day. I had a blast. It was so much fun. There was no responsibility. And then they're looking at a mountain of debt, but that's a whole nother story. It seems like you're giving up that popular college experience for this completely other experience that a lot of people, especially at 18 years of age, like who's thinking rationally at 18 years of age? Seems like you guys are, because you chose a path that you lose some of that bravado and fun memories, but you actually go to a place where it seems like when you're done, you're actually moving forward where you want to in life versus going to some place and then just being thrown back into the world like, well, now what do I do?
Yeah, no, that's completely accurate. And COVID definitely didn't help with this whole, losing out on the college experience. Normally this place is set up pretty normally where after plebe year, you get more liberty rates. After third class year, you get more liberty rates, and you just keep building on. And by the end, first class year, you'd have full weekends. And, for me this year, we would have had Saturday and Sundays and, Friday nights, we would have been able to go out. But with COVID, they really locked us down for a year. And when we went to sea, most ships wouldn't let you get off in port. If you got off in port, ports weren't open, shops weren't open. So we definitely did, more so than other years, miss out on a chunk of time, a chunk of, really cool things to do. But overall, yes, we trade the, getting drunk every weekend and doing whatever you want and the, fraternity life for something that, and arguably people say it doesn't, but we think ultimately will pay out greater in the end. And, saying that you go to a federal service academy or even the state schools, like there's a there are requirements that the Coast Guard set that each school has to follow in order to accurately graduate mariners. So the course load is not, I don't get to really pick my courses. The state school guys kind of get to pick when they take their courses, but they still have a set of courses they have to take. And that setup kind of gives on paper, a cookie cutter mold of, these kids are all pretty qualified.
Mm. When you left high school, it's crazy because I remember what you were like, and I am entering that year this next year. And looking around, I see myself and I see other people and I see the mindsets of a lot of us. And I don't see I see very few people with the rationality of thinking ahead like that, thinking forward into past that just instant gratification pleasure of the college experience, and instead going, I'm going to work really hard here and hope it's going to pay off in the long run. What was your mindset like in high school?
It's honestly, I wouldn't say it's like something you can change. It's not something that you can rationally, tangibly grasp. I would say a lot of us here just have this, it's like a kind of a calling, or just really appeals to you of, this is something that I want to do. Because there are plenty of kids who've dropped out or have quit because they don't want to go maritime. They don't want to go active duty. And quite frankly, they're not having a good time.
Yeah.
And they go, it's not worth, quote unquote, wasting 4 years of your life to do something you don't want to do and miss out on something like that. But I would say that the majority of the kids who stick here, you'll talk, there's kind of like a tier list of, you've got like the really regimented guys all the way down to the guys that aren't really regimented and just kind of fly below the radar, and they want to do their own thing. Even between those two, everyone kind of has a common goal of, this is something that is worth something. Our degree, what we do here is worth something. And that's why we're here.
So you're seeing the bigger picture.
We like to think so. We hope we are.
Let's go back a bit, because in high school, you remind me of a friend of mine, Aiden Brutman. I called him the politician because you guys are popular in the sense that everyone knows you as the guy. Maybe not everybody. There might be a few rats scurrying around that don't like the taste of your name, but most people go, oh yeah, Braden, I love that guy. And even if they don't love that guy, they know who he is and they have nothing bad to say about him. You built that in high school. Did you see yourself as different than other high schoolers? Did you not necessarily better, but did you feel like you had a different mentality or a different work ethic?
I felt like I was a little more like different in the sense of just what I wanted my career to be. I know a lot of my friends were looking at computer science majors or business majors or marketing, didn't know what they wanted to do, just going in there. And I just knew that I wanted to do, at the time it was military or something, different. And this place offered something vastly different. And it's given me a lot of responsibility that I have, and I've made mistakes that I've learned from. And it's a place where it's just as much of a learning experience as it is a teaching environment. So I wouldn't say I was different. I just say I wanted something different. And most of my friends are doing really well. They're doing stuff that I can't do purely because I can't have a job here. I can't kind of freely, I can make internships, but I can't freely just necessarily do it. I got to go through shipboard training. There's a lot of bureaucracy that we have to deal with here that my other friends don't.
Mhm.
So, I would say that there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
And I would say that me personally just looked for something different. Oh, and I would say that's all of us here, because we all wanted something a little different than the normal 4-year education, fraternity or really cool place, and kind of getting something like an experience out of it.
And I think I don't think I remember. I know the talks we had in your truck. You thought like that in high school, wanting to have that different experience and wanting to just have an experience and maybe to learn from it on a grander spectrum, but I mean, you were an IB diploma student, but you still made it to the parties. You got your work done and you passed everything, but you still had fun in the process. And balance is something I know jack shit about. I don't know how to balance two things that weigh exactly the same. I would fall apart. You, on the other hand, had the ability to balance. Has that helped you going in life in general? I mean, you've been on the planet for like 4 years longer than me, so it's like looking into the future, kind of. Has that ability to balance your life helped you?
I would say in the short, yes.
Mhm.
But again, it's just different. It comes a lot into personality. I know kids here that are super extroverted that don't really balance anything, and they're always flying on the seat of their pants, and it's like crazy. And you're like, we got a Providence stats test on Friday, and they're like, oh. And then I know kids that don't leave at all, and they stay in their rooms and they do homework all the time. And they hit the books really hard, and maybe they're in, one club, or they're in no clubs, and they just, maybe hit the gym and mostly hit the books and try to get through this place. So there's just different ways of thinking about it. I personally just can't let my mind be idle, like just sit in my room and sleep and then get up and do class and then go back to bed.
Mhm.
I need something different. And so I found that in sailing. Here is, we practice every day, and I found a group of guys that we work out with, and we work out every day. And so, like, always keeping the mind going, doing something. We've got a big friend group, and so we're always on like the tips of our toes of who's on where, and everyone's always doing something. So balancing has definitely helped a lot, but in the same time, it's more about surrounding people who also balance. Or here it's easy to find kids in the same classes as you, because there's only 2 majors, and then in those 2 majors there's no minors. It's just marine transportation. You're either logistics or you're not, and the kids who aren't take the same classes. So it's easy to study. It's easy to find kids who have the same classes as you.
That's so funny and reveals a lot to me that you say you really do focus on who you surround yourself with. Because in high school, that was one of the things I noticed. I'm like, this dude, this is what I would think. This isn't like I wouldn't say this, but this is what I was thinking in my skull. This dude
a little scary. Sometimes you think it's scary.
This dude could easily be part of the jock crew, part of the guys that get blasted every weekend out of their mind and are popular on campus. This dude could easily be part of the Young Republicans crew, the club that you took from and made to something that it sadly is no longer that organized.
It goes in waves.
You surrounded yourself with a group of guys that from the outside you'd be like, what the fuck is this friend group, man? Like, who are these people? Like, really intelligent people. Now, I don't know if all of them were very extroverted. I don't know if that's what you brought to the party. You were more of a I don't know. But it seems like you, in a lot of ways, are a natural born leader, but you put yourself in situations where you can't necessarily be the leader because everyone's got a different mindset or a different expertise, so you feed off of each other, and that leads into the idea that you want to enter an industry where it's an organism, where you're a part of something instead of just being the head of something. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you see that in yourself?
I think it's easier for other people to point it out. I don't really like look at. I don't know. I don't really do a lot of self-reflection a lot. So, I know you do, and you're able to get a little bit more in touch with yourself. I just kind of, I don't know. This is where me and you differ a little. I just kind of do it, and then whatever happens, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that about the group, because that's kind of something that we always laugh about in our friend group here. Is it's a lot of guys that want to do a lot, and then we all either feed off each other or we all want to kill each other.
Well, that's the
So,
best.
what's up?
That's the best type of relationship. I mean, if we wouldn't be brothers if we didn't want to kill each other and hug each other in the same hour.
Yeah, it's like, you want to plan something simple, and then everyone's got to throw their 2 cents in because they think their 2 cents is better than your 2 cents. And then everyone's trying to make it 4 cents instead of 2 cents.
But see, you choose to surround yourself with people like that. Because let's be honest, dude, if you went to a normal university, you could easily find, and maybe you don't know this, and I'm sure you won't admit it, but I will admit it for you. You could easily find a bunch of sheep that you could be the leader of, and they'd be a bunch of yes men, and they do what you want to say. But you choose to put yourself in situations where you can't be the only say. Everyone there, it seems like, and everyone in your friend group has equal say. It's a true democracy. There is no dictatorship happening. And it's fascinating to me because I don't know. I want to find that group. I don't want to force it. I want to find people that it's a symbiotic relationship. But a lot of the time, I don't know. I feel, especially in high school, and a lot of people I've interviewed, despite sitting down with people and trying to be friends with them, we all kind of feel like an outsider, like until you find that group that you click with. Everyone you're with, you just seem like a little bit on the outside. How do you break through that? How did you find those guys and that group? Because you always seem to be with a crew that you're tight with, and they stick with you. And then it's just that's always been the group with Brandon. You very often are just chilling on your own, being like, oh, I'm reflecting and I'm spending time on me, doing a mind cleanse or something. Like, how do you find that crew?
I think it's important. The biggest thing that I have found that has helped is common interests is a big one. Me and Tom, he was one of the first guys that I really clicked with here. I couldn't tell you how that happened. That's just kind of like, he's a really easygoing guy, so clicked easy. But then Pete, Lucas, Chris, Clay, I met them through sailing. And that is, sports teams are not a forced friendship in a sense, but it really draws out, you really are attracted to those that, are there for the team. And sailing, even though it's a very individual sport, which we like to give Pete a hard time for because he is a true sailor in his knowingness and his arrogance. Great guy, love him. That's why he's the skipper. But
Crash the boat.
What'd you say?
You crashed the boat.
Well, it was a love tap. It was, we got through it. It wasn't that bad. We was in and out of the water the same day.
My God, dude.
Probably should have planned a little better in there, but that's one of the things that we learned from. We're very, very, very diligent now when we plan for our races.
I hope so.
In terms of depth and wind, we're very, very thorough, so it doesn't happen again. But in terms of your friend question, yeah, it's like I just kind of look at guys that you have common interest with, and that's just an easy link point. That's, you already share that. And then from there, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. There are kids on the team that I don't click with nearly as well as kids that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then You kind of just start, and here it's very easy to hang out because we're kind of stuck here and we live in such close proximity that, once you kind of find a group of guys, those become your group of guys. And you can see it in the senior class and the second class, our class, plebe class, these little pockets of friend groups pop up of, the Marine option kids, and then you've got the Army kids, and then you've got sailing kids, the football players, the lacrosse players. Like there's these little pockets that form just purely because, for sailing, we spend so much time together that it's amazing that we can still tolerate each other when we get off the boat, but we do. And then it's the same for the football guys. They spend so much time together, and the lacrosse guys. So that for me has been a linking point, and then it kind of branched out from there. So we had, me and Tom were third co, and then we had sailing, and then from there, Lucas was friends with a kid from fifth co and this guy, and they just started hanging out with us because they liked the vibe or they liked what was going on, they liked what we were doing, and then suddenly you've got a group of guys.
That love for camaraderie and, like we mentioned earlier, symbiotic relationship type groups seems like that's what draws a lot of people after high school to join active duty or to go into the service. It seems like something that's why people move towards the military. It's not always, but it seems like people, they want a place to really belong. They want a sense of brotherhood. They liked playing on the football team, and they don't want to leave behind a sense of a strong bond like that. You mentioned active duty earlier, and that's what you were leaning towards. Do you know which branch you want to go into?
No.
Not at all.
No. Well, there's just so many options here, so many different things you can do that this early in the game, I'm going to start looking, but it's difficult.
But you still lean towards active duty, which I think is fascinating because in this day and age, there's no denying that a lot of people frown upon that. They think it's less than entering into a 4-year university or going to medical school or being a lawyer. They look down upon that career path. Did you run into any negative response when you projected the idea that you wanted to do military life after high school?
Here or in high school?
In high school, when you were, because I'm sure there a lot of people respect the military in some sense or the other, I'd hope. But leaving high school in Newport Beach, California, I'm sure there was a little bit of pushback. No?
Yeah, mostly some of my friends would say it. It's one of those things that it's like hard to explain why you'd want to do it. But it's like it draws to me, and I wanted to give back to my country, and I personally liked it. And there are different ways to view everything. You can view it as a waste of 4 years of your life of getting base pay and, living in a crappy location, unless maybe you're Navy, the Navy's got nice bases. The Air Force have, quote, supposedly the best food, but out of all of it, it's kind of a lower standard of life compared to if you were doing your own thing. Or you can view it as a place that'll give you a set of skills for, basically pay you to have a set of skills, and then take those set of skills and then you use them every day for 5 years, 6 years, however long you're in. And then you come out and you are a now more specialized asset.
It puts you into the real world in a sense that a lot of other people don't get to experience. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And that's exactly what this school does that I really like, and that most of us like here, is it, you learn in class and then you go out to sea and you go, oh, 90% of the stuff we learned doesn't apply, or, that doesn't work, or, oh, should have done that differently. because the cool thing about going out to sea is you're not working with teachers. You're basically kind of lower than an intern. You're a I don't know how to put it. You're almost like a slave, like an indentured servant of the company. And depending upon what crew you get, some guys are really good. My crew was awesome about when I had questions when I asked them, and then some places were like, "You're along for the ride, and you're going to do everything that I don't want to do."
I mean, but that's freaking life, right?
That's exactly right.
No matter what career path you choose, in one way or another, you're gonna have to be an indentured servant for a little bit before you get your plot of land. But
Exactly.
the I started this podcast, and this I don't like to call it podcast because when I think of podcast, I think of a bunch of guys sitting in a room smoking cigars, talking about how their girlfriend ate their cheese in the fridge when they weren't paying attention and bitching about life. I don't know. This is more like an interview show, in my opinion. And I started it because I wanted to ask the questions that everyone wanted to ask, but no one really asks. So I'm just going to ask, aren't you scared that you could die? Like, I feel like a lot of people are afraid of active duty because they're like, you're going to sign up to go die. Like you could get killed. What's your response to that?
And I think that's a misconception. You don't have to go into the military into something that you're going to die in.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of kids here that want to go. I think out of the senior class, there was like 10 kids that applied for graduate school and are going to graduate school to be lawyers or doctors, and they're going to go into the military off that.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah, you have your typical, meathead Marine or Army, like, yeah, I'm going to go infantry and I'm going to kill people. Like, and then,
Joe.
yeah, exactly. And then you have guys that want to be pilots, or you have guys that want to go field artillery. It's not, you don't necessarily have to do that. But that, I think, the danger aspect is what draws a lot of people. That's what draws people to sea. Sea is a very dangerous place.
Yeah.
If you fall off the ship at 1 a.m. in the morning, you're dead. No one's finding you. Like, it's a scary thing to think about, but like, if you're out there in rough weather, and you could even radio the bridge and be like, hey, I'm going down, I'm checking on the reefer on Bay 52. And if you fall off the ship, you're dead. No one's finding you. If you fall from, the top of the cargo hatch through the hatch combing to the bottom, you're dead. If they don't secure the radar antennas when you go up there to work on them, you're fried. Like, it's a very dangerous environment, which is why it kind of draws you to it. That danger aspect of, yeah, I could die, but at the same time, it's like something, like, it's always in the back of your mind, but it's something really kind of cool. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
No, I think it's just a different mindset than some people are drawn to the idea of fame, and other people are drawn to the idea of I could die at any second. Because the whole premise of, even if you didn't go active duty, it's a life it's a scary life. People are scared of being alone. People are scared of not having a home. People are scared of danger. And when I say people, I'm not excluding myself. I fall into the category of people, because you not only go out on this ship where, like you just said, death awaits you on 4 sides of a boat, and in the boat, and on the boat, and under the boat, everywhere. You're surrounded by opportunities of death. But also, I mean, how long are you gone from shore at a time?
So, depends upon the vessel. The one I was on was a run up the east coast of the United States, then over to Europe and back. And that full rotation was, I want to say, 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that was termed one, if you got on in Savannah, one voyage was Savannah to Savannah. So it'd be like 6 weeks. And then the contracts for the mates were 120-day or 3 voyage. It was just about 3 voyages for the ship. So you do that 6-week run 3 times. And so you could choose how you set it up. Some guys did like 2 voyages, then a break, then a vacation, and then the last voyage, or they did 1 voyage, vacation, and then the last 2. And then some guys did it straight through. And it was about 3.5 months.
So not only could you die at any second, you are isolated. You're isolated for long periods of time. That's got to be hard to hold a relationship. That's got to be hard to have a place that you really call a home. I mean, does that not scare you at all?
Well, the cool thing about it is when you're done with your 3 months, I'm not sure how the private sector works quite yet. I'm kind of looking into that. But for the union, a lot of them do pretty close to day for day. So if you did 3.5 months at sea, you're going to get 3 months vacation, which is your time, paid time off. And so what a lot of these guys do is, maybe they'll sail 6 months, try to sail 6 months straight, and then they have 6 months off. So you're really working half the year, and you have a residence, and maybe you have another job. My third engineer was a lobster fisherman in Maine. So he tried to sail from the end of November until like the beginning of May. And then from May until November, he would lobster.
Still being out on a boat all day.
Right. A little different. I mean, he liked the water. He was from Maine. They're big water guys, but that wasn't uncommon to have another something. And then as guys got older, my second mate, his wife was a doctor, and so he would only do 1 trip a year.
That's I don't know, man. That premise of being out there in the freaking unexplored terrain of death for such a long period of time. I mean, you could tell me that sounds like the sales pitch you're giving me right here. Hey, you get 6 months off to do whatever you want, but yeah, you're on a boat for 6 months with a bunch of smelly dudes and girls. I don't know if it's a mixed. Does it draw equally female and male, or is it more male dominated?
It's a male dominated industry. They're trying to get more females, but it's a male dominated industry.
Yeah. So just a lot of spending time with men on a boat by yourself. That sounds like prison to me. Like I'm not frowning upon what you do at all. I just think it's fascinating that there's this whole different. You have to have a completely different mindset for that to be something you're so driven towards. Well,
and it depends. You can make it that way, or you don't have to. Like, you can be really. It all depends on the crew and the captain, how that dynamic is. The other captain on our ship supposedly was a really cool guy. I never got to meet him, but had like ping pong tournaments after dinner and was a really outgoing guy. And it was like a crew environment. Our captain was more of a introverted, kind of did his job, stayed in his office, came down and ate, kind of a gossipy guy. But he just set a different tone. He had more of a tone of, importance on safety, importance on attention to detail. Really instilled that on the crew over stressing the kind of carefree environment. And so it just depended on how the crew was. What if it was the crew young? Was the crew old? Had the crew sailed together a while? Some of these crews have sailed together for years, and so they became really cliquey to outsiders. Some of these crews haven't sailed together for years, and it's new grads and maybe some guys looking for retirement. And so it's a different, every ship, every crew is a different vibe. And it also depends on what type of ship. Tankers are really driven towards safety. I've heard from my friends that are juniors that tankers, the chief mates and the chief engineers are like drill sergeants, like safety, 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 safety. You're carrying crude oil. Whereas container ships are still safety, but they're a little bit more lax because it's not a flammable liquid that if it spills into the ocean, everyone gets fired. So every ship's different. Every captain's different. Chief engineer, crew is different.
Do you think there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding the military?
In what sense?
In all sorts of senses. I mean, first, there's the misconception that if you join the military, you have death around every single corner. There's the misconception that, like, I mean, everybody in the military is an absolute drill sergeant, and it's this. I do 50,000 push-ups every single day. I'm Chef Rush. Look that guy up. He's a nut. I think he's juicing out of his mind, but that's a totally different story. There's the misconception, I don't know if these are misconceptions, just me throwing it out there. There's the misconception that it's all just about guns and violence and killing each other. I mean, because the fact that the merchant marines are a part of the military, technically, is a whole different avenue. You'd never think about the guys in ships bringing around boxes. I don't know about you'd never think about it, but I certainly, and I think a lot of other people would certainly never think about the military and think of the glorified UPS drivers, as you so kindly put it. That's what I mean by misconceptions. These ideologies surrounding what the military is, which might cause a lot of hatred towards it and a lot of disrespect towards it, but maybe it's just a lack of understanding.
I would say yes, because I would say it's how mainly Hollywood, how the mainstream perceived and what they get of the military, like Full Metal Jacket and the World War II movies and, the Hurt Lockers, like highlighting war, where in reality, we're at war right now. We're always technically at war, but there's a lot of areas that, don't really interact with that. A bunch of my friends were on ships that carried military cargo, Humvees, helicopters, tanks. Those are all part of the military. Some carried troops. Those are all part of the military. They didn't interact with getting shot at. They were just merely carrying military cargo. Our ship carried a lot of military cargo. Ironically, it was like stuff for the necks. So toothbrushes and clothes and stuff like that.
Stuff that you wouldn't even, again, when I say you, I don't mean you, I mean me. I wouldn't even think of.
No one would think of it.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it. I asked my chief mate, I go, we're an MSP ship, which basically the military, in order to use these ships, pay the companies basically the crewing requirement. They cover the cost of the crew. In order to keep these ships American flagged, and they take military cargo as priority. And I was talking to my chief mate, I'm like, we're an MSP ship. You said we carry a lot of military cargo, and I've seen like 2 trucks this whole trip. Like, where's the cargo? And he goes, well, since we're not really at war right now, we're carrying a lot of supplies, a lot of just general stuff for the military. And then he's like, if we went to war, you would see more of the tanks and, repair elements of trucks and helicopters and ships and stuff like that.
Does that side of it appeal to you more long term than something like grabbing a gun and going into war zones, or do you like that? Because it seems like you like danger, but it also seems like that's I don't know. Does that side of it appeal more to you, or the violent, more in the rough side of the military?
I would say neither appeal long term to me. I don't view either of these, and that's what a lot of people view. No one really views either of these avenues. I take that back. Not everyone. A lot of people do see, military as a life career, but I would say the majority, probably, 60% don't view either of these avenues as the end all be all, that once you join a union, once you join the military, that's your career. They view it as a stepping stone, because being at sea for 20 plus years, like, that's taxing on a relationship, taxing on family. Being in the military for 20 plus years, same thing. Everyone, I think here, and myself, I view it as the stepping stone, as do my 5 to 10 years in the military, or 5 to 10 years sailing, and then use that and go in. I'll graduate here, knock on wood, at the age of like 22, 23, and by 30, if I was in the military or if I was sailing, I will have hopefully advanced my career and given myself some skill sets where I can either go shoreside, or I can get another degree or get another set of skills that'll then transfer into a more stable career. And I think that's a really cool thing, that option that this place gives, is it gives you the option to do something for a shorter period of time, but greatly advance your set of skills.
Do you have any ideas? And again, this is long term. You haven't even figured out which branch of the military you want to go into yet, if you want to serve active duty or not. But still, play with me here for a second. Do you have any thoughts about what you want to be doing after service? Like specifics.
You're saying in like the 15-year
You said when you say it's not a long term, none of these options currently in your head are long term, rest of your life career choices. Well, when they are expired, what do you want to venture into next? What's next for you?
Well, if I was going to go military and fly, I would really ultimately like to come out and fly for a fire service. That would really be something that I would really look into.
Like a hot shot?
Or fly the planes that would fly the hot shot, or fly the helicopters.
Whoa. Dude, that's sick. I didn't even know this. How do I not know these things about... maybe I just don't pay
a little more time when you were home.
I was busy doing monologues and stuff. I was building a podcast.
I know. You're a busy guy. I get it. You are a very busy guy. Always doing something.
I'm just teasing you, but I knew you were interested in the fire, but it seemed fire department, not just fire in general. What are you, Prometheus? It seems like you always want to be involved in something to do with either A, danger, or B, helping people.
Those are two areas that I really do enjoy. Yes. And that's drawn me here and drew me there. But if there's one thing, and I apologize for kind of being so vague, is if there's one thing that this place has taught me, it's to always keep your options open.
Mm-hmm.
And that you really don't know what life is going to throw at you or what comes along the way. I took logistics here and I really liked the logistics class. Maybe I end up doing that. I don't know. But it's something that in the short term kind of plan out, and then from there kind of figure out where you want to go. Because if there's one thing that I've kind of learned, it's keep your options open. Don't close yourself off to this one singular thing. Even if you said that you were going to do it, for the longest time, I was like, I'm going to go military. I'm going to go military. I'm going to go military. And then it's like, well, I'll still be a reservist if I sail, but this is something really cool. Like I've got to look at it.
So many people just said, fuck you, Emmett. See, I can lay on the couch all day during COVID because I'm keeping my options open. I'm just letting the world come to me.
No, that's not what I meant by
I know that's not what you meant. It's just so funny because you and I really, the funniest thing about this is that you, being one of the closest people to me in my life, have one of the most polarizing mindsets that I do. I mean, we both like to work our ass off, but in different avenues. I have said since freshman year I'm going to be an actor, and I have zero inclination of ever keeping my options open for anything else at all, except this. This came along, and I jumped onto this. But it's we'll see how it works out. Maybe we'll sit down in 10 years from now and I'll be homeless and you'll be a millionaire, or vice versa. I don't know. But I think both of these avenues, keeping your options open, and also I feel like you got to keep your options open until you find that thing that you go, there's no way I'm going to do anything else. You know, that like gut feeling of, have you felt that yet?
No, not yet. Because I still haven't explored all my options. And that's what that's something here that not everyone does or not everyone wants to do is you got to explore it all. And then from there, you'll get a B. One of them will stick out and you'll be like, yep, like that. Or nope, didn't like that. You know, some kids go on aircraft carriers for their second sailing. Some kids, go for a tug company. And it's like, this school gives you a lot of things, a lot of options that you have to kind of go and get. But if you go and get them, they're going to be really cool experiences, and some you're going to love, some you're going to hate. But I wouldn't really be able to accurately I feel like I made an informed decision at the end of this if I didn't at least try to explore as many as I could.
Well, that's another misconception. I mean, I said at the beginning of this, you signed your soul to the devil, or you signed yourself away, and I feel like people are scared. Me, again, being people, are scared of the idea of joining a service academy or something like that because it's like, oh, going to the Naval Academy, I have to be a naval officer, and that's my life. My life is set for me, and it's done. Once you join that path, it's done. But it seems like it does the opposite, at least where you're at currently. It gives you more options to explore, and it streamlines yourself in a bit of surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals and other people that are drawn towards that type of life, but it keeps you still, you're not locked in. You're not in the 9-to-5 that you hate and going, I hate my life. You're trying things. Like that's what this part of our life should be, right? Yeah.
No, exactly. Yes. 100%.
Well, that's why I wanted to have you on. I think it was very fun to talk about our different mindsets, and I every time I talk to you, I learn from you, which is crazy. That because I talk to you a lot. That playlist you sent me by that guy that Dad said was too EDM was actually pretty heat.
Oh, the jazz one?
Yeah, that was it slapped kind of hard, dude. And then sort of too hard to write.
That was random. That was off TikTok. I found that, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then Dad was like, nah, it's too EDM for me.
It wasn't even EDM, dude. It was like jazz.
I don't know what he was talking. I don't know what he was.
I don't know if he knows what EDM stands for. Anyway, thank you for coming on Homeroom. This has been a great first episode. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like, comment, you share, you subscribe, you turn on post notifications, because how are you supposed to know that I drop another episode if you haven't turned on post notifications? If you have another guest that you think I can learn from, that we can all learn from, that you're too scared to ask the questions to, drop that name down below. As always, be yourself and be better. Class dismissed.